Hi, my name is Frank with Tiny Home Alliance Canada, and I'm here today to move ahead and keep promoting our business members and our merchant members. Today I have with us, we have Brett Ferguson and Jack Napora of Canadian Urethane. Brett Ferguson is the technical sales rep, and Jack Napora is the technical manager. All right, guys, so first of all, I just want to thank you for coming along and taking the time to talk with us. To show our community what the people that support Tiny Home Alliance really do. So tell us about Canadian Urethane and what's going on there, and we'll move on from that.
Well, we're actually really excited to be part of Tiny Homes Alliance, and this idea about broadcasting about what we do has got us excited. So yeah, we've been in the spray foam industry 20 years under different names. We're a tight-knit group of guys that have been working together over the years. And this project, Canadian Urethane and Grizzly Gold SPF spray foam product, has been in existence for about 2-3 years. And we have come up with the idea of joining Tiny Home Alliance because of the success we've created in the last couple of projects in the Ontario area. So the companies that we've helped set up in their independent spray foam ventures have really come back with really positive feedback. So we're thinking of promoting this to an alliance like yourselves to help them become self-sufficient in this installation process of spray foam.
A big challenge with tiny homes, as you guys are probably aware, is certifications. CRA certifications, not only knowing how the hell to even get it done, but getting it done can be, depending on where you live, can be either 6 miles of red tape or 20 miles of red tape. But there's always some red tape involved. So if you can figure out a really solid way to insulate a thinner wall, as like we find in tiny homes, then I think there's a huge boost for the tiny home industry, but just the housing industry in general as well, which is really what it's all about.
Right. So a lot of our contractors for residential and commercial might already be subbed to tiny home manufacturers, but it's not a very big project for them. So they usually get put on the back burner until there's a bunch of houses to do on a certain date. While if more of a tiny home builder was set up to do it themselves, to be able to manage their schedules a little better and probably save a little bit of money in the same run over time.
So then tell me a little bit about, I really want to learn about your company specifically, Canadian Urethane, and why is Grizzly Gold so prominent over there?
Well, Canadian Urethane Spray Equipment, that's what CUSE stands for, is our acronym of our name, was involved originally with just the equipment aspect of things. So guys that were getting into spraying foam and getting certified by the Canadian government through associations like, which we'll get into in a minute, Canadian Urethane Foam Contractors Association, which is what we promote for the tiny home installers. They basically picked all of us up to run a spray foam product, which is the highest R value in the market, which exactly what you were saying, it was, Frank, was that you want to put as much R value as you can into a tiny thin wall.
Why is spray foam better?
Spray foam becomes like a seamless product. You won't have any airflow or any penetration of moisture. At 2 inches, it becomes a vapor and air barrier. So it's pretty versatile, and it gets into all the nooks and crannies. And when you're dealing with C-can or containers, they're kind of rigid, and they have the undulations or whatever. So it's hard to get a foam board to go in and out of that and not have air barrier within the structures. So I think that's where foam can really help.
And in the case of the foam board too, I guess you have to really engineer that into the construction.
Just like you said, the cutting the boards and all that stuff creates little gaps and all that stuff. And that's where you lose, like Brett was saying, that you lose the air tightness of the project. With spray foam, it glues all the nooks and crannies, and it's seamless. And basically it's an all-in-one product. It's air, vapor, and thermal, but also has other benefits, like the new one that's the government's really been pushing strong on, is the radon barrier. So at 2 inches, we create a radon barrier, which is this killer gas that's out there now. And it's always been out there, but it's getting a lot more spotlight on, right? So we have a CCMC approved radon barrier for this product as well.
So I can imagine that you have some pretty big cost savings when you're using spray foam.
Like the applicator kind of is spraying the product on with a gun, so there is some applicator air here and there. But I mean, if you're trying to work it within a 2x4 structure, as long as you stay behind the 3 inches or whatever before the drywall, there won't have to be any trimmings. So yeah, you won't have any waste that way, and that would save you some money. And
as well as the labor intensiveness of cutting these boards, gluing them in, securing them in place, and then
the whole guy to do that for 8 hours a day. Yeah.
It's sealed in forever. It's not shifting. It's not moving. Especially after these guys. The biggest thing that we find is after these tiny homes are getting moved. So this even though the outside structure is very solid on a tiny home, this thing is like glues it in place. You know what I mean? It's not shifting. It's not sagging. It's not, you're talking about these rigid boards. A lot of tiny homes were still being insulated with fiberglass bats, right? We're still moving on that way. But a lot of the guys are seeing the light out there. Like we're seeing more and more. Like I'm watching Instagram videos and Facebook videos of a lot of tiny homes being built, like the ones in the fast laps. There is spray foam in a lot of these, and it's really nice when it's your own machine and it's on your own time. And then the spray foam guy can't make it on time, and the drywallers are saying, "Hey, we got to hang this up and meet the deadline." And it's really nice doing it yourself.
You mentioned earlier in our conversation you had done some projects. Tell me about a few of the coolest projects, or maybe your most favorite couple of projects you've done in the last little while.
Well, I'll tell you about the one that we're dealing with in Ontario. I'm not going to mention the company name because I don't have their permission. These guys were hiring one of a contractor in Toronto to come in and spray foam their containers for them, and he was having a hard time, A, with the price, and B, with the scheduling. Like we said. The gentleman approached us, and we sold him some equipment, and we gave him full training, and now he is self-sufficient. We've been going there. These guys are doing, he says it's sped up his production because he's not waiting on these contractors to come in. It saved him a pile of money. He's able to create a more profit for himself out of the same build. And his ideas are flowing. That's what I love about your industry. Like, these guys are all innovators, man. He's got lots of ideas. We're switching over now. We're going to be thinking about, I have some other products about liners and stuff like that, spray on. We're going to do some pools out of containers with him. And it's really exciting.
Is your kind of go-to thing going to be containers, sea cans, container builds, box builds? Has that sort of been your main?
Oh, absolutely not. We are a full residential, commercial, industrial supplier to the industry, right? We sell across Canada. We have a great network of installers. This is the guys that have mobile units that'll go out and they'll spray anything from walls to pipes to tanks to big buildings, from the outside, houses from the inside. These guys spray underground. So we are very, very averse in this industry of spray foam. The tiny homes is. We found that this is going to be a good nook and niche for us to expand our business, and in the same time, really give these guys independence of waiting on contractors, saving some money, and buying one of these units. So think about this: you can have a unit that's stationary in your factory, or you can have it mobile. So you build your home, you send it somewhere, you weld them together, and then you want to foam that seam. Well, there you go. You got yourself a mobile unit to get out there. At the same time, some of these tiny home companies are doing more than just tiny homes, and they can use this spray foam rig for other things, or they can start a whole new revenue stream for themselves being a mobile unit, because they'll be fully certified, just like the installer that they would have hired would be.
And honestly, I've noticed that a lot of builders, a lot of the ones that sort of started the industry, were all trailer makers. They're all in the trailer industry. They all build trailers. So, I mean, they're experts at
100%. And we sell, listen, we sell foam to, again, I won't name companies, but we sell foam to a whole bunch of trailer reefer company makers that do it already.
Now, are you across Canada here? Do you have more than one office?
Yes, we have warehousing all across Canada, and we have staff all across Canada. We support anywhere from Vancouver Island to Newfoundland. We're available for full support.
Just go everywhere. So what's the best way to contact you guys over there? Can I get right to the boss, or do I have to talk to a sales guy?
You can email us directly. Myself and Brett are taking this project by the horns, and you're calling the source right here. And like I said, it's one source. We supply everything. We do the foam, the equipment, the training, the maintenance, the parts for all this stuff. So it's we don't let you down. And that's one of the reviews we got from the couple of companies we've set up already. They said, "Holy smokes, I wish we knew you guys 5 years ago." And I think this tiny homes it's more than a fad. People call it online. I think this is we want to be part of this 100%, and we're not going anywhere. And I know you guys aren't either. So
in my experience so far with tiny homes, which only has been about the last 2 years, so just kind of new to the industry in a sense. But in my experience, most tiny homes are built by just individuals.
Right.
You know, an individual will go to a trailer builder or even a tiny home builder perhaps, but they'll have them. They're all custom, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's all very individual. They're not building just like a whole bunch of tiny homes and then selling them on the market. They're kind of going to each person saying, "What are you looking for?" They design it. So it's very personal. You've been talking a lot about working with big companies.
That's basically, there is a ton of companies that are doing this for their bread and butter. They're making tiny homes and custom design, and it's a full factory and plant, and that's pretty much who would probably make sense for like a ROI of about 3 to 5 years. Whereas a guy doing one here and there, it's going to cost them a little bit more. But like I said, this having such access to such equipment could pop out a whole new revenue stream for them, a whole new side business if they're only doing a few containers a year.
It's really great to hear that you guys are working with individuals too. So what would be your advice as a company to an individual who's not working with a tiny home builder? I'm just a guy who's like, I've got a back 40. I want to build a tiny home on my back 40. Who cares the reason? I want to build a tiny home. So what would be your advice to that person?
I would tell them to maybe get in contact with us, and we can point them in direction to a certified contractor within their region that would maybe give them some pricing on their measurements and everything, and then they can take into consideration if it's worthwhile hiring the contractor or maybe going down the avenue of starting up their own little independent side hustle business as an insulator themselves. Like there's
That's cool.
Different avenues of looking at it, right?
Well, I mean, spray foam, like just to give you an idea, our business has been growing. Back in 1999, we were only about 3% of the whole insulation business was spray foam. Of the whole insulating world was spray foam. And last time I read the report was about 5 years ago. We were up to about 12%. Okay, so we're only 12% of the insulating, and this is the best method to insulate. That's why we're excited about it, and we're looking for areas where it definitely needs it.
What kind of process as a client would I go through then engaging with you guys? From maybe an email or phone call. What is there a very personal process, or is it
Absolutely.
pretty standard?
We would discuss their needs from the get go. We would talk about, hey, what do you need? Are you looking to do more of these? Are you doing for one? Like Brett said, we get you. We have a network of installers all across through the Canadian Urethane Foam Contractors Association, which is our customers. We can get them set up with a certified guy to put the right product perfectly into their unit. If they decide, hey, this is something I want to do, and I got more of these, and it makes sense. Jack, tell us the pricing. What's it all entail? Then we would basically design a custom unit with them, whether it's just the equipment and they can put it together themselves. In a mobile unit, a lot of these guys are very handy, and we've learned that they can assemble it themselves, or we can sell complete, ready to go turnkey units for them. Then the full training, there's a certification process through the Canadian Association, and our hands-on training at their site will commence after that. And this is not a sell and run. We're holding their hands until they don't need us anymore. Well,
curious then, do you offer any online training courses for somebody who's just simply wanting to learn about this sort of thing?
There is through the association of the Kafka Association, which I'll send you some information and links on it. The Canadian Urethane Association will host monthly training courses. The guys they're virtual. They can learn about the industry. Now, mind you, it might not be tailored to the Tiny Home Association, but this is the Canadian course for learning where, why not, how to install foam. It's not the hands-on training that we provide when we sell the equipment. It's the theory behind it all, which is, it's actually quite quite interesting for anybody who's in the building industry.
And then the other end of the spectrum, you were talking about densification. People from the city are getting tired of that, and some people are moving up north and they want a mobile home or a tiny home out in the bush somewhere. Like, that's also another train of thought where a lot of people are doing that. They can cash in their $1.2 million house from the city, go up north for a plot of land for 200,000, and then they put their little tiny home on there. There's a lot of that happening as well.
There is. But some people have said that that's a trend that's kind of, it's only a fad. That's not going to keep going. It's going to be too hard to maintain something way out in the country. People are going to want to be in the city. Then they're going to turn them into, I've heard a lot of stories. They're going to turn them into just cottage homes. They say they're going to live out there. They go out there for a year and then like, oh, I like the city better. And then you'll have, what you'll end up with in, 5 or 10 years is an influx of people moving back to the city. And now you've got all these little homes dotted around the countryside that aren't really being used. And it turns into this other little thing. And so people are saying it's going to be a fad. What do you think about that?
I mean, things come and go, but I don't think it's
a fad.
Like, I think there's still.
It's sad. I don't believe it personally.
I used the term fad. I used the term fad a few years ago. I did myself, and I'm guilty of that. But I don't think so. Not now. Not with how much immigration this government's allowing in. The housing bubble is going to continue, and the tiny homes is the answer. I believe, and
that's why I go back to housing. Yeah, it's not about tiny homes. It's not about how you build anything. It's really about how do I make housing that's affordable to the same people that was affordable to back in the 50s.
Our region actually has a program with maybe, I don't know, 30 tiny little homes for homeless people that have a plot of land, and they're trying to give them a place to stay, and they offer services for bathroom and trash. They'll have pickup like that. And it's actually really cool. I'd maybe get that article and send it your way. It's pretty neat to see that it's a trend for sure. Like, people are on the brink of being homeless, and through the taxes and everything, we're able to provide them with like a little bit of a security blanket to maybe get back on their feet so that they can maybe get back into renting a home or what have you, right?
Right, and tiny homes are a good solution to that because you can put them up pretty quickly.
You'll probably be aware of this. In Fort McMurray, there was a huge shortage of houses, and then we were dealing with a company who no longer exists now out of Cardston, Alberta. We went and set them up with a whole bunch of machines. They were foaming up these modular homes, and they were shipping them up to Fort McMurray. But they were finding that they build them the traditional way with SM boards, styro boards, like you said, or fiberglass. By the time on wheels, these mobile homes got up to Fort McMurray, and with the labor costs, it cost them so much money from all the cracks and such. We introduced foam to this builder, and he found that yes, the foam is not as cheap as the fiberglass, but installing the foam would actually make him net cheaper getting up to Fort McMurray because there'd be next to no repairs needed because the structural strength that the foam creates. And that was a huge success story. This was back in 2008 when we did this, and it was a fantastic solution to a problem.
I think that's one of the best selling points of technologies like that, like the foam, where you're doing something in a way that wastes an absolute minimum amount of material with the minimum amount of expended energy to do so. You're using 100% of what you need. You're not throwing anything away. That all by itself costs the construction industry, I'm sure, billions of dollars a year in waste.
The biggest thing for foam is it's forever. It's not like fiberglass that settles, takes on moisture or stuff like that. This is forever. So it's perpetual savings on the there's tests done. We can send you those. I don't want to bore you with them, but after about 5 years where the foam pays for itself compared to conventional methods of insulation, right?
How would it stand up to a flood, for example?
You'd have to put the right amount of foam for the weight, but if you had a flood, you get the water out, the foam will be fine.
Man, you guys are in Ontario. Have you ever done anything or even talked to a company that does anything like houseboats?
Sure.
We have contractors we have a pour foam system that you fill the pontoons with this pour foam, and there'll be zero air, and it's Coast Guard approved.
Our contractors go down in the Toronto Harbor all the time. There's foam rigs, and they're nice thing about being mobile with an extended hose. They park on shore, they drag their hose out, and they foam up the walls. Guys are living on boats these days. There is guys living winter year round. There's a whole community of of people that live on boats in the Toronto Harbor.
I think houseboats kind of qualify as tiny homes. I think
Absolutely.
personally, I think we need to really broaden the spectrum of what a tiny home is and take the idea of a tiny home away from it being an RV.
Take a look at there's a Instagram page and a Facebook group that I follow. It's called 35 meters squared. And so they classify anything that's 35 meters squared or less, which is about 400 square feet. They consider that a tiny home for them. So take a look at some of the ideas these guys have, and it's a lot of prefab stuff where they sell you a whole kit, but there's some really cool ideas, and foam is used in a ton of these. So.
All right, so I just want to thank you guys again for joining us today for this interview. It was lovely meeting both of you and learning about your company. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we go?
No, and like I said, we're an open door policy for any other members if they're in the area. If they wanted to come down Kitchener-Waterloo area, come and see what we do. We have demo equipment. They can come and take a look. They can pull the trigger if they want.
That's fantastic.
If they want to learn more about it, we always love to spread knowledge.
That's awesome. Well, we feel the same way here at Tiny Home Alliance. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you really enjoyed listening to us chat, and make sure you check the channel for more videos.